Archangel Meek has posted a video in which he asserts that a ceiling gutter is visible in an Apollo video. Effectively, we can see it on the top of the screen, but it is debatable. The Apollo believers might say that it comes from the quality of the film. However, there is something which is less debatable. On the video we can see a lens flare which has been circled. This lens flare is caused by the sun, as it was the only source of light on the moon. Now look, on this sequence which has been extracted from the video, we can see that the camera turns very consistently. Consequently, the direction of sun relatively to the camera changes, and we should see the lens flare move on the top of screen. Yet you can see that it does not move. It remains at the same place. On this second sequence, which has also been extracted from the video, we see again the camera which turns in a consistent way, and again we see the lens flare which abnormally does not move. Two photos on which we can see the sun are taken, and the camera is turned between the two photos. The sun moves on the photo, and so does the lens flare it creates. Yet on the two sequences which have been shown, although the camera shows a consistent rotation, the lens flare stays at the same place. It does not move. The only possible explanation is that this lens flare is not caused by the sun, but by a suspended spotlight which is moved when the camera turns so that it remains oriented the same relatively to the camera. On these two photos, which are shown in an animation AS1582-11056 and AS1582-11057, the astronaut has turned his camera between the two photos, and we can see that the lens flare moves between the two photos. Yet the lens flare we see is not created by the sun either, but also by a suspended spotlight which is moved between the two photos. How can it be proven? On each of these photos we can see two lens flares, a smaller brilliant one, and a bigger less brilliant one. These two lens flares have been circled. If we draw a line which passes by the centers of these two lens flares, this line must meet the sun. On the photo AS1582-11056-2 we can see these two lens flares, and if we draw a line which passes by the centers of these lens flares, this line must also meet the sun. Now if we make a panoramic by assembling these two photos and we draw the lines passing by the centers of these lens flares, these two lines must cross on the sun. The sun, which was quite low in the sky, should be just above these photos. But if we prolong these two lines beyond the panoramic, we can see that these two lines cross much too high. The sun could not be so much above the photos. This means that the lens flares cannot have been created by the sun, but by a mobile suspended spotlight which has been moved between the two photos. In Apollo 17 there are three consecutive photos: AS17-145-22160, AS17-145-22161, and AS17-145-22162, on which we can see a pair of very visible lens flares. On each of these photos the line joining these lens flares must meet the sun. But when we make a panoramic by assembling these photos and we prolong the lines joining the lens flares, these lines which cross on a common point, which is the sun, cross on different points instead. This means that these lens flares cannot have been created by the sun, but by a mobile spotlight which has been moved between the photos. So as well on the videos as on the photos, it is possible to prove that the lens flares we see cannot have been created by the real sun, but by a mobile spotlight which is moved along the videos or between the photos. And of course it proves that these videos and photos cannot have been made on the real moon, but on a fake moon set instead.